Hi. We're in the last chapter of Dorothy Sayers' The Other Six Deadly Sins in her book, Creed or Chaos, and Other Essays. Again, this is written in World War II. On page 74, she says, "In especial, it is at the mercy of the sin called avaritia, or covetousness. At one time, this sin was content to call itself honest thrift, and under that name was, as they might say in Aberdeen, vera weel respected. The cold-hearted sins recommend themselves to church and state by the restraints they lay upon the vulgar and disreputable warm-hearted sins. The thrifty poor do not swill beer in pubs or indulge in noisy quarrels in the streets to the annoyance of decent people. Moreover, they are less likely to become a burden on the rates. The thrifty well-to-do do not abash their pious neighbors by lavish indulgence in gula or luxury, which are both very expensive sins. Nevertheless, there used always to be certain reservations about the respect accorded to covetousness. It was an unromantic, unspectacular sin. Unkind people sometimes called it by rude names, such as parsimony and niggardliness. It was a narrow, creeping, pinch kind of sin, and it was not a good mixer. It was more popular with Caesar than with Caesar's subjects. It had no glamour about it. It was left for the present age to endow covetousness with glamour on a big scale, and to give it a title which it could carry like a flag. It occurred to somebody to call it enterprise. From the moment of that happy inspiration, covetousness has gone forward and never looked back. It has become a swaggering, swashbuckling, piratical sin, going about with its hat cocked over its eye and with pistols tucked into the tops of its jackboots. Its war cries are business efficiency, free competition, get out or get under, and there's always room at the top. It no longer screws and saves, it launches out into new enterprises. It gambles and speculates. It thinks in a big way. It takes risks. It can no longer be troubled to deal in real wealth, and so remain attached to work and the soil. It has set money free from all such hampering ties. It has interests in every continent. It is impossible to pin it down to any one place or any concrete commodity. It is an adventurer, a roving, rollicking freelance. It looks so jolly and jovial, and has such a twinkle in its cunning eye, that nobody can believe that its heart is as cold and calculating as ever. Besides, where is its heart? Covetousness is not incarnated in individual people, but in business corporations, joint stock companies, amalgamations, trusts, which have neither bodies to be kicked, nor souls to be damned, nor hearts to be appealed to either. It is very difficult to fasten on anybody the responsibility for the things that are done with money. Of course, if covetousness miscalculates and some big financier comes crashing down, bringing all the small speculators down with him, we wag self-righteous heads and feel that we see clearly where the fault lies. But we do not punish the fraudulent businessman for his frauds, but for his failure. The church says covetousness is a deadly sin, but does she really think so? Is she ready to found welfare societies to deal with financial immorality as she does with sexual immorality? Do the officials stationed at church doors in Italy to exclude women with bare arms turn anybody away on the grounds that they are too well dressed to be honest? Do the vigilance committees who complain of suggestive books and plays make any attempt to suppress the literature which suggests that getting on in the world is the chief object in life? Is Dives, that is Dives and Lazarus, you remember, like Magdalene, ever refused the sacraments on the grounds that he, like her, is an open and notorious evil liver? Does the church arrange services with bright congregational singing for total abstainers from usury? The church's record is not in these matters quite as good as it might be, but is perhaps rather better than that of those who denounce her for her neglect. The church is not the Vatican, nor the metropolitans, nor the bench of bishops. It is not even the vicar or the curate or the church wardens. The church is you and I. And are you and I in the least sincere in our pretense that we disapprove of covetousness? Let us ask ourselves one or two questions. Do we admire and envy rich people because they are rich, or because the work by which they made their money is good work? If we hear that old so-and-so has pulled off a pretty smart deal with the town council, are we shocked by the revelation of the cunning graft involved? Or do we say admiringly, old so-and-so's hot stuff, you won't find many flies on him? When we go to the cinema and see a picture about empty-headed people in luxurious surroundings, do we say, what drivel? Or do we sit in a misty dream wishing we could give up our daily work and marry into surroundings like that? When we invest our money, do we ask ourselves whether the enterprise represents anything useful, or merely whether it is a safe thing that returns a good dividend? Do we regularly put money into football pools or dog racing? When we read the newspapers, are our eyes immediately arrested by anything which says millions in large capitals, by anything which says millions in, let me read that again, or preceded by the dollar sign or the pound sign? Have we ever refused money on the grounds that the work that we had to do for it was something that we could not do honestly or do well? Do we never choose our acquaintance with the idea that they are useful people to know, or keep in with people in the hope that there is something to be got out of them? And do we, this is important, when we blame the mess that the economical world has got into, do we always lay the blame on wicked financiers, wicked profiteers, wicked capitalists, wicked employers, wicked bankers? Or do we sometimes ask ourselves how far we have contributed to make the mess? I'll put a link into a video we did on Ray Franz, that ex-governing body member of the Jehovah's Witnesses, who has the inside story of the building of the Watchtower Empire under their third president, Nathan Knorr. Nathan Knorr was a businessman and was not a theologian, but he built out of the wreckage of J.F. Rutherford's reign a formidable business empire, which is called a religion, the Watchtower.